This is the G Podcast, where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and everything else. You heard? This is the G Podcast. Wow. Let's go. Another. This is the G Podcast, where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and everything else. You heard? This is the G Podcast. Wow. Ha. All right. It's important to have a little bit of pre-show because, again, you got to get warmed up for these things. So, picking up from where we left off that last episode, definitely need some water. Lock in. No filler words. Lock in. The water is necessary. Picking up from where we left off yesterday, wanted to truthfully take advantage of these first few episodes to introduce myself to the audience, provide a little color or context about what got me to this point, and also hopefully a little bit of insight as to why I often go about things or say things the way I do. The whole goal of this long term is to bridge the gap. The gap that exists between you and I, between you and other people in your life. This is not to push us further apart. It's about understanding. And when we understand one another, it typically brings people closer together. So what my hope is through these episodes, especially these solo episodes, it's an opportunity for me to demonstrate to everyone it's okay to be honest. You can be reflective and honest about what's happened in the past, especially because you can't change it. No need of being ashamed of it. Own it. Own it. It makes you who you are. No need to lie about it. No need to hold your head down about it. Embrace it and figure out how to use it to your advantage moving forward, focused on the future. So this is key. A big key to this whole thing is bridging the gap through understanding and acceptance. That's not to say I expect everyone to agree with me, to make the same decisions as but I can honestly speak from a place of honesty, where I've given it a lot of critical thought, and I'm comfortable enough to share those thoughts with whomever. You can be open and honest about what's happened in the past, the things you can't control, because if you don't learn from those things, your future is bleak. You have to be able to learn from what you've done to have a brighter future. One of the worst things we can do is repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. It's one of the worst things that we can do. So that's really why it's important to learn from your history, learn from history as a whole. With these early episodes, it's my way of showing you that I've been putting in the work in many areas consistently over a significant period of time. And I hope that if you can't relate to what I'm sharing, it at least helps you understand that there might be something different that you can do if that's something that you were thinking about doing. Again, the G Shit Podcast is a podcast where hopefully when you listen, you're able to take something, hopefully you can take something and apply that to yourself so that you can have a stronger impact as it relates to your family, your friends, your finances, your freedom, and our future, and everything else. This is the G Podcast. Today, what I want to discuss is the last part of the Trinity. The first part was personal, went through some of my personal experiences that helped me get to this point. The second part was focused on the professional and how that helped me get to this point. The last piece to the puzzle as it relates to that Trinity is what we want to discuss today, and that's the creative background. I've been framing this in a personal, professional, creative framework. Today, that creative element, I want to expand on that and discuss some things that I've never really necessarily shared openly. So, really want to get into my background, but not just the background, the value of having the pursuit of a creative passion. It's so important. You got to have something that just isn't going to work. One of the two of the key examples to this that I saw growing up, both of my grandfathers, they had sheds in the backyard where they just did for hours. They had gardens. They had all type of just things that they invested their time in. And it was a form of creation as well. They used their time to create things. I've said before, the act of creation, I feel, is how can I frame that? I think the act of creation is the ultimate sign that God exists within you because you are a creator. But what do you create? That's why art is so powerful. And that's why I want to talk about my creative background, because that process of creation is so intimate and it's so personal and intimate for every individual. You know, Erykah Badu said it best, right? Artists have a gift, and I feel like ultimately art is expression and it is the gateway to your superpower. So I want to discuss how the art helped me really hone in on my skill set around my superpower and how that led me here. I really like the warm up beginnings. It just helps set the tone, set the mood, so that when I hit go go, it's time. Yeah, man, I've been working this right here. That conniption kinship. Purple drink. Delicious. They gonna have to let me know what's good with this butterfly pea though. Pause. Butterfly pea flower. I don't know. I ain't never seen that before in my life. Shout out to Durham Distillery. Actually might try to go to Corpse Reviver this week. Matter of fact, while the weather's still just a little warm, little warm. All right, so another thing I want to share before we wrap up this pre-show is, and I'm going to talk about this more, but what I'm doing now, I'm literally doing what you see. The audio, I had to tune it. The video angles, I had to set it. This is a reflection of the effort that I've had to put into this over a significant period of time. It wasn't overnight, but I definitely have been putting in the work, and I feel really good about going after this. And so what my goal is in the short term, even as I start here today, or I didn't start here today, but even as I am going after this today, my goal in the short term with this podcast, the G podcast, man, my goal is to, and this goes into the art conversation as well. My goal is to lock in on what I can control with this process. And what I mean by that is I am dictating the terms of what I'm getting out of this, not you. The listeners, I hope, I don't expect, but I do hope that you all get what I am. I hope that the listeners do receive what I'm saying in a way that benefits the cause, because the goal is to build community. And what my personal goal toward reaching that community is to make sure that as of 2003, hold up, what? Yeah. At the start of the year, 2023, what my goal is with this G podcast is to make sure that I'm able to produce at least once a week for this audience. It won't always be me. I'm going to have people on here, whether that be just calling in from a voice standpoint or a vocal standpoint. I can't guarantee when I'll be able to provide dual audio from a remote standpoint. Long term, I want to have people in person and have that sort of intimate style recording. But in the short term, the one thing you can always expect to see is G. And as of 2023, please hold me accountable. That is my goal. I am trying my best to deliver a minimum of once a week in 2023. Thank you. Thank you. That is the goal. Might I say, a very clear goal. It's not to be successful. It's not based on what is outside of my reach. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because what I've invested in creatively over the years has put me in position to where this is within my control and I am the creator.
Wow.
Okay. I think that's a nice way to wrap up on the pre-show. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. This is the G Podcast, where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and everything else. You heard? This is the G Podcast.
Final system check for re-entry. Wow. Looks like you got off course there, G.
It doesn't matter how you feel.